I have a sales team, half a dozen people that sell advertising. And one of my new persons came to me and said, I've had 20 no's in a row. And the person was a little bit despondent. So I wanted to talk tonight about no's because all of us are in the business of getting people to agree with us. Everyone here, Taylor, you have to get people to agree to you or you won't eat. Your mom is getting some agreement. Bob, I know you're looking to get agreement in the world. All of us are trying to get agreement. And one of the things we run into is no. And in 6 to 8 minutes, we can't go too far into the subject. Keith, you're still with me here, right?
No. A great sales book was called "The Sale Begins When the Customer Says No."
It's a great topic. It's a great topic. So there's 4 basic reasons that I could think of today after this experience of why people said no that came to mind. I didn't read the book to cheat. There's capacity, how much capacity you have. There's peer pressure, which can work for or against agreement. There's desire or motivation. And there's inertia. And if you were to say, Bob, you were to say to meet an attractive woman. Say you were to go over to the elephant bar and you sit down there and you say, my God, that is an attractive woman. I think I'd like to marry her. And if you went up to her and said, I'm Bob, let's get married. Now, it's possible. It's possible because you're so charming and delightful that this person could say yes. And off you could go and it'll all work out wonderfully. But probably she would, after she slapped you, slugged you, or maybe if she was polite, she would just say no. And a challenge that a lot of salespeople have is that essentially this is how they go about their relationships with their customers. They're incredibly direct. Will you marry me? And we could come up with any other number of examples of direct approaches, which is I think it seems like the logical thing. If you want something, you want the woman to marry you, why would you just ask her? Why go in some indirect path to get there? But the direct approach, which is intuitive, turns out to be very unsuccessful. And the indirect approach to getting people to agree with you, the counterintuitive approach, is what is quicker and more effective. And what I had to explain to this person was what they were doing was probably being too direct. We sell advertising. And if you call someone up and say, would you like to advertise with me? They're going to say no. And the reason that people have built-in no is for any of the number of reasons I mentioned: capacity, peer pressure, desire, motivation, inertia. And the automatic response for every request is no. It has to be. If you think about it, if you said yes to everything, imagine, Leonard, you're going to go out and buy a car, and you did not have any capacity to say no. Well, how many cars did you end up with? Dozens, hundreds. It's impossible. Or if you were going to go buy coffee, decaf, regular, French roast, Italian roast, Sumatra, pre-ground, in the whole beans, in the 2-pound bag, the 1-pound bag, already made. By default, the person's response has to be no. So if you make a direct request of someone and looking for agreement, you're going to get no pretty much no matter what. There's other reasons why people say no beyond simply the capacity of their life being filled up. It could be peer pressure. You're selling a Lexus, but all of your friends own Mercedes. You can't have a Lexus. That would not work. You'd have to have a Mercedes. There's desire or motivation. If you don't have the motivation or desire to get into agreement, it's just not going to happen. And then there's just inertia. Getting off your butt, moving. Most of us, once we get into a pattern, pretty much are not going to get out of it. It just isn't going to happen. And all of us have been there when someone has made a suggestion to do something. Let's go to the movies tonight, Grace. I'm going to stay home. I want to wash dishes or do the laundry or, feed the children. Oh wait, we don't have children.
Little barking children.
Yeah, barking children.
So the indirect approach is something that Taylor was talking about or hinting at it earlier when he talked about pulling rather than pushing. The direct approach is pushing something out. Buy my advertisement. Marry me. Buy a Lexus. The indirect approach is getting to know the person. If you really wanted to marry her, maybe you'd start with some questions like, do you come here often? Or some other line of questioning.
Have I seen you somewhere before? Yeah.
And I'm being silly here, but really, after she got to know you and maybe had a drink with you, and maybe you suggested an activity, going to the library to look at books before they're made obsolete by iPads and Kindles, you would slowly get to know each other. And she would discover whether she liked you, and you her, and maybe that would lead to something. It's the same thing with the sale of advertising. If you're selling advertising, you're trying to discover what does a person care about? What do they value? And this is true of whatever it is that you happen to be selling. Leonard, what are you selling these days?
Anti-aging products.
Anti-aging products. So you could say, hey, buy some anti-aging products. Well, you could really piss someone off saying that. What do you mean? Do I look like I'm getting old? What kind of an insult is this?
You're fat, let's talk.
But if you get to know someone and understand what's going on with them, you might discover that this is not an issue for them, and for you to pursue this will only antagonize them. Or you could discover as you became friends and got to know each other that in fact this was an important issue, or maybe someone they knew who they could refer you to. So I think the normal human instinct is to be direct, which is the intuitive thing. I want to go from A to B. The shortest distance is a straight line. You go there, you get rebuffed, and then you go back and do it again even harder the next time. And as you push that person, you compress them, and they get harder. Where if you are engaging and finding out what they care about and what they value, you are pulling them out, you are decompressing them, and making the whole thing easier. And you'll discover if what you have is right for them. The last thing here, as we're getting towards the end of our time, is talking about the value of no. Now, when you ask for the business, when you ask for the agreement, if you get no from the person initially, as you're going along, maybe getting to know them, you might run into some no's. Is no such a bad thing? Well, the salesperson immediately, or the person trying to get agreement, would think, well, no's horrible. I only want yes, 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 yes. But imagine the person that said yes easily. Leonard, how about a Lexus? I'll take it. Leonard, how about a Porsche? I'll take it. Leonard, how about the person who would have no loyalty, and the next person that came along and said, well, how about a pound of coffee beans? I'll take it. If you are successful at getting the person to agree with you, and they say, yes, I want to work with you, I want your service or good or relationship, and it's taken you some work to get there, and you've had to overcome some obstacles, this is a good thing. Because the next person that comes along that wants their attention, like you've got her to agree to marry you, and the next guy comes along and says, will you marry me? Well, it's divorcing Bob and running off with him. And then it's off with the next one, and it's off with the next car. So the no is not a bad thing. No is a very good thing from a salesman's point of view. You want customers that take time to build relationships. You want to build strong relationships. And if they say no, it's okay. So there you have it. A $10,000 sales course in 9 minutes and 16 seconds.